Hello, my name is Coreena McBurnie, and I'm the author of Prophecy, which is book 1 in Antigone, the True Story series. It's a young adult historical fiction set in ancient Greece, based on the Oedipus myths. Antigone is Oedipus's daughter. And I'm going to read a scene. It's probably my favorite scene that I wrote in the book, because so many things came together. And what's going on is that there's a plague in Thebes, and it's devastating the city. So they have gone to the Oracle of Delphi, which is where they went to look for answers on how to get rid of the plague. The oracle responded saying they had to get rid of the murderer of King Laius, who was the previous king of Thebes. And so they're looking everywhere for who the murderer could be. And Tiresias knows who the murderer is, and he's the blind prophet in the city. And so they've brought him to the palace, and King Oedipus and King Creon are questioning him to find out who the murderer is. And Antigone's in the room as well, along with some other people. So here we go. My father turned to Tiresias. Enough of this. Do you know who murdered King Laius? Can you tell us so we can rid Thebes of this plague? Tiresias moved closer to my father until he was almost face to face with him. Wisdom is of no use if it brings misfortune to the wise, he spat. The words hit everyone in the room like a blow. How could Tiresias answer this way? Why didn't he answer clearly? My father's jaw dropped, but he remained silent. We don't understand, Lord Tiresias, Uncle Creon said in a measured voice. Do you know who the murderer is? Are you able to use your gifts of prophecy to help us? Able, yes. Willing, no. Why not? Shouted my father, his anger tangible. What could be more important than helping rid Thebes of this plague? And don't try any more of this wisdom bringing misfortune to the wise nonsense. Tiresias glared at my father with his sightless eyes. I will tell you nothing. I was scandalized. How could Tiresias speak that way to the king? What could he possibly be hiding that was worse than naming King Laius' murderer? He had the power to single-handedly rid Thebes of its plague, yet refused. It made no sense. His hand trembled as he wiped his brow, creased in anger. How dare you, bellowed my father. How dare you stand here and defy your king, telling us you know who killed King Laius, but then refusing to give us his name? How dare you watch your fellow Thebans suffer and die from plague and hunger and refuse to help them? If you know something and won't tell us, the blood of everyone who died from this plague is on your hands. Tiresias shook his head. So you say, you and your temper. You don't even see what's right under your nose. The evil is done. My words won't change anything. Then tell us, I shouted, despite myself. I couldn't sit there and listen to this pointless volley of insults any longer. I stood up and approached Tiresias. You're speaking in riddles, and this is getting us nowhere. Why won't you give my father the name and be done with it? Are you afraid? Are you willing to let the people of Thebes suffer? And for what? The snakes around the room echoed my agitation. Angry energy welled up inside me. Suddenly the ground shook, and Tiresias stumbled into my arms. I managed to keep my footing and to stop him from falling to the floor. My anger was instantly replaced with fear and confusion. Tiresias held onto my arms tightly, digging his bony fingers into my flesh. Do you really want to know, Antigone? Do you really want to tear your whole world apart and do something that can't be undone? I won't tell your father, your uncle, your cousin, or your sister. Even the earth itself knows and is repulsed and sickened by what has happened. You feel that, don't you? I only hope that your father, the famous, or should I say infamous, King Oedipus, will hold up his end of the bargain and exile the murderer. But you, Antigone, I will tell you the murderer's name, if you really want to know. Tiresias's fingers were bruising my arms. I barely dared to breathe. I had to be strong, like my father. I had to be willing to do anything to help Thebes, just as he was. Tell me, I whispered. So that's the end of that scene. Again, the name is Prophecy, and I will put the link to my website below in the link in the notes. And the book's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, ebook and print book. And I hope to hear from some of you. Thanks for listening.